Good afternoon. Welcome to Business 360, your complete view of the stories driving business, markets, and the economy. I'm Apa Ongpin, and this is the Bilyonaryo News Channel. Inflation eases for a second straight month as fuel and food prices cool. Robinsons Retail moves a step closer to delisting from the Philippine Stock Exchange after a successful tender offer. Can a fresh wave of IPOs offset PSE delistings and reignite the stock market? We get the market outlook of Regina Capital's Luis Limlingan. UnionBank makes InstaPay transfers free for customers. And it's day 2 of Vice President Sara Duterte's impeachment trial. House prosecutors lay out their case, leading with the alleged grave threats against President Ferdinand Marcos Jr., First Lady Liza Araneta-Marcos, and former House Speaker Martin Romualdez. Inflation slightly eased to 6.4% in June as lower fuel prices took some heat off those prices. But strip out food and fuel and core inflation went up. Ches Sulit has more.
Price increases of goods and services are showing signs of cooling down after inflation reached its peak in April. Based on the latest print from the Philippine Statistics Authority, the country's headline inflation rate eased to 6.4% in June 2026 from 6.8% in May. Transport was the main driver to the downward trend. Fuel prices dropped earlier in June following the peace deal signed between the United States and Iran. Still, global oil markets continue to fluctuate due to geopolitical uncertainties. National Statistician and PSA Undersecretary Claire Dennis Mapa says the trend points to a slowdown, but risks remain. He adds that the ongoing Middle East conflict may still impact the country's inflation rate for the next months.
Una, yung items related to transport. Elevated pa rin siya, but it's lower than the previous 2 months, particularly nung April, no, na talagang nag-spike. Yun kasi yung ating main contributor noon.
The PSA also recorded a nearly 3-year high inflation rate for electricity prices at 12% for June. This comes amid consumer concerns on power prices spiking during the summer season, brought by increased electricity consumption and tight supply. At the same time, MAPA noted that core inflation, excluding volatile food and energy items, continued to rise to 4.4% from 4.1% in May. He said prices of several goods and services also increased, including bakery products, alcoholic beverages, rent and water. Health and education costs also went up, partly due to the opening of the new school year. The latest inflation print is within the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas' 6 to 7% forecast range for the month. The Department of Economy, Planning and Development has said that the easing inflation rate shows global conditions are improving. However, DepDev Secretary Arsenio Balisacan stressed that the goal is to keep inflation low and stable. This requires stronger food production, more efficient supply chains, and greater climate resilience. For Business 360, Ches Sulit, Bilyonaryo News Channel.
The Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas remains committed to its 3% inflation target in the medium term. The BSP says it's prepared to take further monetary action to get there, even as price pressures remain strong, with core inflation still broadening across the economy. The BSP's latest forecast shows inflation staying above target through 2027 before moving closer to the 3% goal in 2028. The Monetary Board says it will keep watching the oil market closely heading into its next policy meeting. And with inflation still above the BSP's target, Metrobank expects the central bank to keep its tightening cycle going. The Philippine Stock Exchange Index edged higher as investors digested the latest inflation data. It closed today still slightly above the 6,200 level, but most indices were in the red. It was ICTSI that did the heavy lifting today, up nearly 4%. The top losers were Ayala, Jollibee, and Ayala Land. UnionBank becomes the latest bank to make InstaPay transfers free. Jillian Geronimo has that and more business stories.
say goodbye to extra charges. UnionBank is now offering free InstaPay transfers through its online banking platform. The move follows other banks that have removed fees after new rules limited interbank transfer charges. The Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas said banks may only charge up to the actual switch cost for InstaPay transactions, estimated at 1 peso and 50 centavos. The BSP launched InstaPay in 2018, allowing real-time fund transfers between banks. While one Jollibee insider cashed out millions, another moved in to buy more shares. Jollibee Foods Corporation founding investor Antonio Chua Poing sold nearly 53 million pesos worth of JFC shares in recent transactions. The sale involved over 370,000 shares through Honeyworth Corporation. Despite this, Po still holds more than 22 million JFC shares. On the other hand, Hyperdynamic Corporation, a company linked to Jollibee chairman Tony Tan Caktiong, bought about 40.5 million pesos worth of JFC shares. The purchase increased the firm's stake to nearly 44% of Jollibee's outstanding common stock. A new rail link is taking shape in Bicutan. Philinvestland has turned over a 6,000 square meter property to the Department of Transportation for the upcoming Bicutan station of the North-South Commuter Railway. The stop will connect with the Metro Manila subway, making travel between Clark, Manila, and Calamba more convenient. Philinvestland will also build an elevated walkway connecting its developments to the future transport hub. The Bicutan Sucat section is expected to be completed by 2031, with full rail operations targeted by 2033. With a new rail link, Bicutan is set to become a major connecting point in the capital's future transport network. For Business 360, Jillian Geronimo, Bilyonaryo News Channel.
Robinsons Retail has cleared a major hurdle in its plan to delist from the Philippine Stock Exchange. Robinsons Retail's largest shareholder, JE Holdings, has successfully completed its tender offer, acquiring enough shares to meet the 95% threshold for the voluntary delisting. After the share transfer is completed, the delisting group will own about 99.7% of Robinsons Retail, leaving a public float of just 0.31%. The company says the final step is to secure approval from the Philippine Stock Exchange. At this point, let's get the market outlook of Luis Limlingan, Head of Sales at Regina Capital. Hi, Luis. Welcome to Business 360.
Hi, good afternoon, Apa. Thanks for having me.
So you've said in recent days that the Philippine Stock Exchange is getting left out of a global equity party. In Asia alone, the Nikkei, the Kospi, and the TWSE have broken records in the last month, while here we celebrate when the market moves 1%. Why are we left out? Is it a structural problem?
I think the longer the market languishes at this level, it seems more apparent it's a structural problem and not just some cyclical rough patch. To put into context, our regional peers are riding high on a multi-year tech superpower wave, while the Philippines remains hostage to the old sector economies, such as real estate, the conglomerates, and utilities. And if you look at the low-hanging fruit, you can see why. First is a liquidity gap. Your average daily turnover on the PSEI is more or less $100 million. And to put that into perspective, the Taiwan Stock Exchange, that equates to around 3% of their average daily traded volume. Foreign funds are, structurally bypassing the PSEI because simply there isn't enough daily volume to enter or exit into a position. And second is just the variety of stocks. In fact, never mind the lack of names, but we have already a lack of major IPOs. In fact, it's the opposite, where companies are delisting, just as you mentioned a while ago, with RHI being the latest casualty.
Yeah, the main driver for Kospi and TWSE in particular is tech and chip makers. Are we just weak in those sectors?
Well, obviously, markets are paying a premium for these intellectual property and advanced fabrications. The Philippines has an integral part in the global tech supply chain, but we're stuck more in the sort of low margin assembly and testing. So you cannot really capture the semiconductor-driven multiples when your listed market completely lacks those sort of pure play tech heavyweights. So in contrast, for example, when it comes to Taiwan and South Korea, tech and semiconductor companies, they account for 30 to 50% of index weighting. These are mostly dominated by Taiwan Semiconductors and Samsung. The PSCI, our tech presence, I would say, is almost negligible, which is sad because 50% of our fiscal exports revenues are driven by these physical electronics, but they're mostly private multinationals and the unlisted subsidiaries.
Is there a way to restructure the market to build more confidence and spur more activity?
There are a lot of ways actually that the brokers have expressed to the PSCI just to bring back that confidence. I think you just start first by looking outward to democratize access, which I think there is a bit of a structural shift by allowing, let's say, the domestic retail to invest, through different avenues. We cannot build sort of an internal tech monopoly overnight just with the likes of our other countries. So we have to sort of transform Manila or the Philippine Stock Exchange into sort of a conduit for all the equity asset classes. And of course, in parallel to what I was saying earlier, we need to put a cap on these delistings, and we have to convince all these well-positioned companies to go public. Because again, with very little companies available, you're limiting the ability of these funds just to switch into different names depending on which is attractive at that moment.
Yeah, some investors have criticized the PSC as a low return for high risk, in particular because it's not very liquid. The volume is so low. So, for instance, you want to exit, I mean, who's going to buy your shares, right? Would you disagree?
It's really hard to defend, right? And I think the criticism is entirely warranted. If you look at the rolling 5, even 10-year average of the PSCI, it's essentially offered flat capital returns, no, mixed with, and this is even excluding the forex volatility. So when investors or the foreign funds can clip a risk-free 6% yield on a government bond, when you comparing that to holding a concentrated basket of illiquid domestic equities, it requires requires a huge premium for them to make that decision.
Yeah, I would think so. The market and brokers have arguably undervalued recently two critical blue chips, Ayala Land and Jollibee. Jollibee was in fact struck from the index, no? This has compelled these companies to buy back their own shares in order to prevent a sag in share price. Can you comment on whether this was good for the market?
Well, when the corporate management issues a buyback, it's essentially echoing their sentiment to the market. If you won't price us fairly, we'll be buying back the company ourselves, no?
Yeah.
So when industry heavyweights such as Ayala Land and Jollibee, they trade significantly below their perceived fair value, or with Ayala Land, it's book value. They think that the buyback is the most efficient use of the capital at this point. So one, it protects the stock from an institutional free fall. And second, it sends a signal to the investing public that this is the trigger for them to start buying, because the company already believes that it is already trading at a significant discount.
Mm-hmm. Okay. One driver for the PSCI, one of the main drivers, has been ICTSI. And, the market, it likes ICTSI. Do you feel the market has responded rationally to this stock, or is there an element of hype?
Well, I think the element of hype really is just on the perceived future earnings. And I think this is validated. ICTSI for the last few quarters, they have met and exceeded the expectations of the investing public. I mean, just look at the latest report on the first quarter. ICTSI's they saw a 30%, almost 30% jump in top and bottom line. And it forced, or rather it made analysts revalue the company moving forward. And imagine this happened during a time when there was a lot of uncertainty, especially in the Middle Eastern front. And you see that ICTSI was largely unaffected. Obviously, it accounts for a huge percent of the PSA weighting, so that helps. But second is that they see ICTSI as it's a local company with a global play, not just in the domestic front. So that's also what's making it very attractive to the investing public.
Okay. Speaking of hype, the GCash Mint IPO, if it happens, and it's likely to happen, it's expected to really rev up the market. Is this a good time for an IPO? Other companies considering IPO are still parang wait and see.
I agreed. Some companies are on a wait and see mode, but there have been successful ones, even the most recent one, which was Maynilad. And hopefully, there's already some stability on the geopolitical front. Inflation is slowly trickling down. No? It's going closer to the acceptable range. We've seen that there has been some buyback in the market recently. So this could be one of the catalysts that the market needs to sort of bridge the old economy and the new. A 90 billion peso mega listing of this scale, no, and has a bit of a tech narrative that can give the foreign funds exactly what they've been waiting for. And the market outside has a lot of liquidity to absorb it. That's what we think.
Okay. Well, yeah, I hope so. That's 90 billion bucks. How beneficial has the introduction of REITs, real estate investment trusts, how beneficial has that been for the market?
Well, we think that especially during the change of the global market, especially during the pandemic, it was one of the better structural innovations of the PSCI over the last decade. So they gave investors who were yield starved a sort of predictable and defensive capital income when capital was drying up at that time. So I think the next evolution is going to be much more critical, and I think that's where the new REITs could probably position themselves. No, it's transitioning from the traditional office space into the infrastructure and digital assets, and that's why we have the new IPO of the Vitro IPO, which will mark the country's first digital infrastructure and data center REIT.
Yeah. Well, that's also exciting. Okay, thank you very much, Luis. This is a very interesting insight into our stock market.
My pleasure, Apa, and thank you for having me.
Okay, we're taking a quick break. When we return, we'll show you the latest from the Duterte impeachment trial live. This is Business 360.
Memo with Corina Sanchez Rojas. Monday to Friday, 7:30 a.m. on BNC.
Shift happens because the way we move is changing. From roads to runways, rails to open seas. This show brings you the latest in mobility. Breaking news, viral stories, smart tech, expert insights, and practical tips. Now, whether you're commuting, traveling, or just curious about what's next, we keep you informed, entertained, and safer on the move. I'm Paulo de Rosario. This is Shift Happens.
Welcome back to Business 360. I'm Apa Ongpin. The case involving Vice President Sara Duterte's alleged threats against the president is now before the impeachment court. The defense wants the court to watch her full November press conference, while the prosecution is pushing to present only selected clips. Let's get the full story from Hannah T, reporting live from the Senate. Hannah, what's going on?
Apa, the defense team of Vice President Sara Duterte wanted the Senate impeachment court to play the entire 2-hour and 26-minute online press conference where she claimed an alleged assassination plot against the president, his wife, and his cousin. They argue that showing only selected clips would take her statements out of context. The issue surfaced as the House prosecution presented its first witness under Article 4 of the impeachment complaint, which centers on Duterte's alleged grave threats against President Bongbong Marcos, First Lady Liza Araneta-Marcos, and former House Speaker Martin Romualdez. The prosecution presented NBI Cyber Investigation and Assessment Center Senior Agent John Mark Calilong, who led the digital forensic examination of a November 23, 2024 online press briefing of the VP. Calilong testified that he requested Meta to preserve the original Facebook video, received an acknowledgement from the company, and later created a forensic copy by screen recording the entire video and verifying that it matched the original. During the presentation of a flash drive containing the video evidence, the defense objected to the prosecution's plan to play only the portions it considers relevant. Defense lawyer Carlo Narvasa argued that the court cannot properly understand the VP's alleged statements without watching the entire press conference, saying the full video provides the necessary context of what transpired that night. The House prosecution opposed that request, and they maintained that it was only presenting the portions relevant to the article on grave threats. Presiding officer Senator Judge Cheese Escudero overruled the defense and allowed the prosecution to proceed with the selected video clips, while the defense registered a continuing objection. This led to more discussion, Apa, when Senator Judge Alan Peter Cayetano said deliberation may be needed if a full preview of the video is needed to present evidence. The proceedings was then suspended before the court made a final decision. Apa, the Senate impeachment court then decided that it will not interfere with how the prosecution chooses to present its evidence, and presiding officer Senator Judge Cheese Escudero ruled that the prosecution may present only the portions of the video that it believes that supports the allegations against the VP, rather than playing the entire 2-hour press conference. The court said the limited playback is intended to save time while allowing the prosecution to establish its case. But the court also said that if the defense later decides to present an evidence or the entire video or other portions of it as part of its own case, it will be given that opportunity. And following the ruling of the Senate impeachment court, Senator Judge Cayetano submitted to Escudero's decision. Back to you, Apa.
Thank you, Hannah T, reporting live from the Senate. The House prosecution challenges Vice President Sara Duterte's decision to sit out her impeachment trial. They say the so-called bloodbath she referred to can only happen if she personally attends. Let's hear more from Isaiah Mirafuentes of Abante. Isaiah, go ahead.
Kaninang tanghali ay dumating dito sa Senado si Vice President Sara Duterte. Subalit ilang minuto bago magsimula ang ikalawang araw ng impeachment trial ay lumabas si Vice VP Sara ng premises ng Senado. Sa pagdating ng Vice, nag-iwan siyang maikling pahayag.
My statement is, in this bloodbath and bludgeoning, I will be blooded but unbowed.
Subalit dismayado ang House Prosecution Panel dahil tila hindi handa ang basis sa bloodbath. Ayon sa prosekusyon, hindi ang pagdating sa Senado ang inaabangan ng taong bayan, kundi ang pagsagot niya sa mga aligasyon na laman ng articles of impeachment. Gate ng prosekusyon, magaganap lang ang bloodbath kung a-attend si VP Sara sa trial at hindi sa pamamagitan ng kanyang proxy o mga abogado. Ayon pa sa prosekusyon, nang dahil raw sa maikling pahayag ni VP Sara ngayong araw, posibleng mas bumigat pa ang mga ebidensya laban sa kanya. Dahil maaari raw nila itong magamit bilang batayan para mas tumibay ang Article 4 ng impeachment na kaugnay sa pagbabanta ni VP Sara sa buhay ng first couple at former House Speaker Martin Romualdez. Kanina nga matapos kausapin ni Vice President Sara Duterte ang kanyang legal counsel ay lumabas na nga sa Senado at hindi dumalo sa trial si VP Sara. Ayon sa prosekusyon, patunay daw napalpak ang kanyang legal counsel kaya biglaan niyang kinausap dito sa Senado. Apa.
Thank you, Isaiah Mirafuentes reporting. Security remains tight at the Senate as the impeachment trial moves forward, despite a quieter crowd situation around the complex. Jill Sebandal joins us live from outside the Senate. Jill, how's the situation? Hot?
Apa, in contrast from yesterday's crowd here outside the Senate complex, today it's more like calm. It has calmer situation, it's calmer scene, and that reached the Senate today with no pro-impeachment protesters gathered outside the Senate. Despite the calm, authorities remain on heightened alert. According to NCRPO spokesperson Police Major Hazel Asilo, a total of 2,257 PNP personnel have been deployed to secure the Senate complex and its surrounding areas. A significant reduction from the around 6,000 police personnel deployed during the opening of the trial. Meanwhile, supporters of Vice President Sara Duterte remained gathered here near the Senate gate, and police continue to closely monitor the situation outside. The authorities remained prepared and should additional demonstrators arrive during the succeeding days of the impeachment trial. And that's the latest here outside the Senate. Apa?
Thank you for the update, Jill Sebandal. Vice President Sara Duterte visited Senator Rodante Marcoleta at the PNP General Hospital in Camp Crame, where he remains under police custody. The office of the Vice President confirmed the visit, which took place before Duterte headed to the Senate to meet with her defense team in her impeachment trial. Marcoleta was hospitalized after complaining of chest pain and high blood pressure during his booking procedure on Monday. Meanwhile, businessman Aristotle Baluyot Viray was finally arrested in Quezon City on Monday, also in connection with the plunder case. His arrest comes after Marcoleta, former Anak Kalusugan Representative Mike Defensor, and another co-accused were taken into custody a day earlier. The impeachment trial of Vice President Sara Duterte is the latest in a string of political and legal cases investors are watching. On BNC's Follow the Money, economist Noel Leco warned that prolonged political uncertainty could dampen investment sentiment.
Is the Duterte impeachment trial, which is going on right now, a concern for investors?
Oh, definitely. Because governance is a major consideration for investors. So if this impeachment goes haywire and
it'll cost us
unresolved,
more. Investors are before on the fence. Are they now backing out?
Yes. So we have the ombudsman continuing its investigation. We have the impeachment, and then let us not forget. There is still the ICC trial going on, and there's still one senator that they are looking for that they want to bring in.
Coming up, a lawmaker reveals the private concessionaire of LRT1 is looking to pull out of the rail line's extension project due to delays. Business 360 will be right back. Welcome back to Business 360. I'm Apa Ongpin. Toyota Motor Philippines is bullish on a stronger second half for the local auto market. G. Baroga has more.
Toyota Motor Philippines of the Bilyonaryo T family is confident the local auto industry is heading for a stronger second half of the year. Local fuel prices may still be higher than pre-war levels, but Toyota says the recent rollbacks are a positive sign for both motorists and the industry. And while electrified vehicles continue to draw attention, Toyota says internal combustion engine or ICE vehicles still make up the bulk of the market.
ICE still comprises around 80% because of the market. So that will really help consumers, in terms of purchasing and making it more affordable also to own actually an ICE vehicle.
And this year's Toyota Road Check brought us to Cebu with the Land Cruiser FJ as one of the highlights. This SUV generated local interest after it was shown at the Japan Mobility Show in 2025 and most recently at the Philippine International Motor Show. Even with changing market trends, Toyota says it remains focused on giving customers more options, pushing for a multi-pathway approach.
The Toyota choice is all about giving our customers the confidence to choose what is right for them by giving them reason to believe in our brand. But Toyota's proven quality through the years of experience, product, and services that meet the need of customers.
We do not really focus on just one technology alone because we believe that the market has a lot of requirements, has unique requirements based on their lifestyles, based on the needs, based on their business requirements.
Biofuels will also be put to the test in the new era as it is set to be used at the upcoming second leg of the Toyota Gazoo Racing Philippine Cup. For BNC Mobility, G. Baroga, Daan Bantayan, Cebu.
More good news for motorists, I guess. Saudi Arabia is slashing the price of its crude oil for Asian buyers. Starting August, state oil giant Saudi Aramco will cut the selling price of its flagship Arab Light crude by $11 per barrel, the biggest price reduction in at least 26 years. This puts its crude at a $1.50 discount to the regional benchmark. The Philippines has asked the United States to exempt its exports from proposed tariffs on goods linked to forced labor. A report by Inquirer.net said the Department of Trade and Industry submitted the request to the U.S. Trade Representative. The DTI noted that the Philippines has strong laws and a proven record against forced labor. It added the Philippine government is continuing to strengthen its enforcement measures to comply with U.S. standards. This comes as the U.S. proposes a 12.5% tariff on imports from countries with inadequate forced labor safeguards. U.S. stocks kicked off the week with solid gains as investors returned to AI-related shares ahead of the second quarter earnings season. The Dow, S&P 500, and NASDAQ all closed in the green. The rally was led by chipmaker Broadcom after it extended its custom chip partnership with Apple through 2031. Another circuit-breaking session for South Korea's Kospi. It closed down nearly 5% but plunged more than 8% in intraday trading. Investors dumped chip stocks amid growing concerns over the AI trade, which weighed on Japan's Nikkei 225 and China's Shanghai Composite as well. Samsung Electronics and SK Hynix led the Kospi sell-off, even as Samsung forecast a sharp jump in second quarter earnings. Coming up, a lawmaker reveals the private concessionaire of LRT1 is looking to pull out of the rail line's extension project due to delays. Business 360 will be right back. Welcome back to Business 360. I'm Apa Ongpin. The private concessionaire of LRT1 is looking to pull out of the rail line's extension project over delays in building the Las Piñas station. That's according to Las Piñas City Representative Mark Santos. He said the government is already paying penalties because of the delay and has advanced hundreds of millions of pesos on the project.
LRT is, may concessionaire sila ngayon.
Is the MVP Group?
MVP Group, right.
Okay.
LRMC, itong sa C5 extension. So, nagbabayad tayo.
Ng interest?
Ng penalties.
Ng penalties, yes.
Oo. Kasi I think last May, nangutang pa ang gobyerno ng 3.6 billion pesos sa Land Bank. Nakapag-advance na tayo ng 900 million before this administration. Magpo-pull out na yung concessionaire dahil doon sa delay ng Las Piñas station lang.
Santos said demolishing the C5 flyover in Las Piñas could save the government 700 million pesos and put the extension project back on track. He said Phase 2 could be completed before the end of President Marcos's term if the flyover is torn down.
Have you made discussions with Secretary Vince Dizon in this point?
Yes, during the budget hearing, when he was still the Secretary of DPWH, inupuan namin ito ni Sec Vince. And sinabi niya na tinanong niya ang LRTA inintay ko siya ng 2 oras sa budget hearing sa Congress. So, naghintay ako. Sabi ko kasi, ang dami ng problema mangyayari dito. Doon sa proposal, nagtataka naman ako, bakit we're giving preference doon sa mga kumpanya na nagpo-propose na doon ilagay sa lupa nila yung stasyon. In fact, yung isang kumpanya dito, finailan na ng kaso ng SEC yung Villar Land Holdings for market manipulation, insider trading. Bakit pinapansin natin yan? Gibain natin ang flyover. Tapos ang kwento.
Las Piñas City Representative Mark Santos also said the Ombudsman is investigating the 11 billion peso project linked to the Villars. Santos alleged that the road project in the city was built toward areas where the Villars have businesses.
Bilang senador at congressman, may allocation ka sa budget eh. Gumawa po sila ng kalsada doon sa Zapote River, wherein nilabag nila actually ng DPWH yung batas sa water code, wherein pwede mo lang galawin ang easement ng 3 meters. Ginawa po nilang kalsada, papunta doon sa lahat sa mga negosyo nila.
Sorry po.
11 billion project. And now it's under investigation by the Office of the Ombudsman. Merong task force Villar ang Office of the Ombudsman.
Super Typhoon Bavi could enter the Philippine area of responsibility as early as tonight or early tomorrow morning. Once inside PAR, it will be given the local name Inday. While the storm is not expected to make landfall in the country, it's forecast to enhance the southwest monsoon or habagat, bringing heavy rains to several areas. Pagasa also says tropical cyclone wind signals of up to signal number 3 may be raised over parts of northern Luzon. Earlier, Bavi battered the U.S. Pacific territories of Guam and the northern Mariana Islands after making landfall as a Category 5 super typhoon. Alex Ayala's historic Wimbledon campaign has ended in the 4th round. Though it's not quite the fairy tale ending, it drew overwhelming support from Filipinos, cheering her every step of the way. Here's Sheila Salaysay with the story.
She may have fallen short of a Wimbledon quarterfinal berth, but Alex Ayala won something even greater, the hearts of millions of Filipinos. Fans gathered at PhilSports Arena in Pasig City for a free public watch party as Ayala took on Italy's Jasmine Paolini in a round of 16 of the 2026 Wimbledon Championships. Organized by the Philippine Sports Commission, MMDA, and Philippine Tennis Association, the event welcomed fans eager to witness another historic chapter in Philippine tennis. For PSC Chairman Patrick Gregorio, Ayala's journeys prove that dreams can become reality through hard work and perseverance.
There was a time I asked her kung hindi ka ba nagdalawang isip na iniwan mo yung pamilya mo? And she said, hindi. Kasi yun po talaga yung gusto ko. Noon pa lang, alam ko na gusto ko mag-aral sa Rafa Nadal Academy. And tingnan mo ngayon na nagbubunga na lahat. So that is yung ano niya Na-manifest niya lahat ito eh.
PhilTA Secretary General and Navota City Mayor John Ray Tiangco said Ayala's historic Wimbledon campaign has given Philippine tennis a much-needed boost and has encouraged more young Filipinos to take up the sport.
Aside from dun sa pagiging magaling ni Alex sa paglalaro ng tennis, na maraming na-inspire ngayon na gustong humawak na raketa, maraming nanonood kahit hindi nakakaintindi ng tennis. So para sa amin sa Philippine Tennis Association, napakalaking bagay yan.
Among those in attendance were fans who said Ayala's remarkable run has given them hope and renewed pride in being Filipino.
Win or lose naman, talagang grabe na yung honor na nabigay niya sa country. We never imagined na magkakaroon ng isang live viewing party for a tennis game. It's for a tennis game. It's really one for the books. This is the official chant that we're trying to establish for Philippine sports. Chant is whenever there's a national game, para talagang meron tayong iisang chant whenever may laban ng Pilipinas. So, galing ay ilabas, galing ng Pilipinas.
Hoping to encourage more Filipinos to show their support for the country's athletes, one fan came dressed to make a statement.
Kaya lang naman ako nagko-costume ng ganito. Gusto kong i-inspire din yung mga sports fans na kung kaya nating magbigay ng all-out na suporta sa mga national athletes natin, pwede rin natin gawin sa kasuotan yon.
Although Ayala's historic Wimbledon campaign ended with a hard-fought 4-6, 6-4, 3-6 loss to Paulini on center court, Alex Ayala left to a standing ovation after becoming the first Filipino to reach the fourth round of a Grand Slam singles tournament, earning the admiration of fans around the world for her fearless performance and remarkable Wimbledon campaign. The 21-year-old also walked away with her best ever Grand Slam finish and 300,000 pounds or roughly 24 million pesos in prize money after reaching the fourth round. Sheila Salaysay, Bilyonaryo News Channel.
And that's Business 360. We'll keep tracking the moves that matter across markets, policy, and the economy. I'm Apa Ongpin. Thank you for joining us, and keep it here on BNC, the Bilyonaryo News Channel.